Alright, welcome back. This is a tutorial on Avid Audio Tool and the Avid Audio Mixer. Yeah, I'll just close these up so we can access it together. So I just put some stuff on the track here. Um, just some music. So let's talk about sound. Sound is so important and one of those things we always have to pay attention to whenever we're doing editing. Now keep in mind as a class that you might have your volume cranked and another person might have it very quiet. So the sound levels are all relative. So we need a baseline. We need to kind of have a general rule, which is why that 1K tone kind of helps us out a little bit. But more importantly, the audio tool is a good method for us to judge, to kind of even out where the sound should be. So the right side is like an analog way of reading it if you use old sound devices. The left side is a digital scale for us to analyze. And as a rule of thumb, for most broadcasts, you want to have your dialogue in between -6 to -12. Somewhere between here is where your dialogue is. So conversely, you don't want your, maybe you do, it's all relative, it's all art, is that maybe your music should be a little bit lower, same thing with your sound effects. So you want to have, as a general rule of thumb for broadcast, somewhere between -6 and -12. If you're doing a YouTube channel, generally they like it at -3. So again, this is all relative. So those are just some general guidelines, and you might hear differently or whatnot, but it's a good rule of thumb. So anyway, let's listen. Let's take a look. Okay, we're getting a little hot there. It's a little bit loud for music. Music kind of overruns everything. Now, I've already taught you about keyframing, and you can set your track audio here, which is useful for sure. You can also click on the lower icon here, and this will help us adjust the audio per track. So I can take this down by, say, -6 decibels for this track. So you can see it's -6 decibels reading there. So look at that. It's already improved. Or I could do this. Much quieter. So you get the idea. I'm just going to set that back by holding Alt or Option on a Mac and click on this. Clicking on this little button here, you can reset it back to normal. Okay, so this audio tool helps me monitor all of these tracks and whatnot. So that's where the audio tool is useful. Now, let's get into the audio mixer. Under Tools, Audio Mixer Tool. Okay, Audio Mixer Tool. So, here, since I'm working on if I work on the record side, the timeline, it's going to reflect what tracks I'm working on. So I have an A1, an A2, and a master will control the whole entire track. So if I click on the source, it's going to reflect that I have an A1 and A2 in this source window. I'm going to click and work instead on my clip that's on the timeline. So here, I'm just gonna, this allows us to audio loop play. So I'm gonna click this, and what this means is that it's going to play over and over what I choose to make an in point and an out point. So when I click this now, audio loop play, I can do a live update. Again, I can do a live update, and once it hits here, it will continue to play this back. This is really useful when you're dealing with audio, when you're dealing with people talking. So as you can see, what I did there was that this master is going to affect both track A1 and A2 because it's the master. So I'm just going to stop that for a second. This is good if you're working with dialogue. I'm going to keep that off for now. Rendering is if we've done some effects and we can render them all out. Our fast menu says that you can set the level on the track with your in and out points. Set panning on a track, so maybe you want to have like a bus sound go from left to the right side of your headphones. You can start working with the pan or adjusting pan volumes, and that's what this is kind of for. Panning it right, panning it left. I'm not going to go into too much pan. That's more of a second year kind of deal, but I just want you to be aware that that's what the pan can do. Also, we can remove any clip gains or any clip pans on the track, so volume as well as the pan. And yeah, okay, cool. I'm not going to touch those. This is for when you're working with groups. If you have a whole bunch of like A1, A2, all the way to like A16 or A32 even, you can group them together and adjust the volume or pan per group. It's a little bit more advanced, but that's what it refers to. This is also working on a clip mode, live mode. We're working on the clip mode. This is more important, grouping. So if we had a lot of tracks, if I had an A3 or an A4, I could make them all tied together. That way, if I adjusted the level, it affects them at the same time. So here, we play this. I'll alt click on this, put it back to 0. And now look at this, since they're grouped. And it responds live. Because they're grouped. However, if they're not grouped, you get the idea. So yeah, that is your audio mixer and audio tool at a glance. And again, if you're working on the whole entire clip, this can help you just put the entire volume for the clip. So if I'm watching my meters, and if I wanted this to be negative, between negative 12 and 6, that's pretty high for music. But yeah, that's a good rule of thumb. So anyway, that is a little bit about the audio tool and the audio mixer. You already know how to keyframe audio in one of our earlier lessons, and this helps you to monitor it. If there's any other questions, just feel free to ask me, and I will try to include it in a future tutorial. And yeah, I hope this helps you out. With that, I will end recording.